Hi everybody, I'm Adrian Nelson, and some of you may know me, and if you do, I'd like to thank you so much for supporting my channel. Some of you, it might be your first time here, and I'd like to welcome you. Um, I am a born intuitive, psychic, medium, connection, whatever it is that you want to speak about. But what I really want to speak about in this particular video is mental health in my journey, my personal journey with mental health, my challenges with mental health, especially in my business, especially in my career. So, um, I have been born via sort of like an emergency cesarean. So, I sort of had a near death experience at the beginning of my life. Like, I came into this planet, let's get the difficult things out of the way. There were some complications with my birth, natural birth, emergency cesarean, got stuck, there was suffocation taking place, and all of those type of things. All right. And typically, when we have a near death experience, we do tend to be more sort of psychic, or what we call psychic in the world, connected, because there's a lot of preparation that the soul has to go through in order to come here, and then there's also quite a bit of preparation that the soul goes through in order to leave here. So when you start to leave, just like that, through like an NDE, a near-death experience, um, you sometimes kind of go over to the next side, and you're sort of like there, and then you come back, and you come back with all that knowing and all that consciousness. I also have a personal theory that I think that when, as human beings, we find it very difficult to acclimatize to living on Earth, because Earth isn't the easiest place in the universe, to be. I think, or from what I feel and from the insight that I get, is that when we have difficulty aligning with this earth living, acclimatizing with this earth living, then we have that almost like glitches, and that is what typically leads to mental health. Now, I just wanna say right from the start that this is not me going against any profession, or any medical practitioners or anything like that. I'm not attacking anybody here. I'm not discrediting anybody here. I'm not saying that I know better. All I'm sharing with you is my experience and some of the shared experiences that I also have with some of my clients. So, I am a psychic tarot life coach, meaning I get guidance from the tarot, and then I also work with a collective consciousness that call themselves Smile, that speak to me. So I share with you what I get, and then give you guidance from that. I also do NLP. I'm a regression hypnosis practitioner, what sometimes people call past life regression, but it's so much more than that. So just to let you know that this is what I do. I teach people psychic development. I obviously, consistently practice new ways of psychic development within myself. But my full-time profession is that of a psychic. Okay. And so for me, I know that a lot of people think that psychos are sort of like wackadoodle and those type of things in any case. But for me, that was a real challenge and a real concern. And I still had a lot of fear within myself because, when you do this sort of work, there is a lot of, not so much anymore, but especially earlier years, there's a lot of, sort of like backlash that comes your way. Crazy, mad, cuckoo, making these things up, all of those sort of things. So, um, it took me a very, very long time to, first of all, just accept within myself that I was psychic, that I had the psychic gift. And then on top of that, having to admit it to others, it was quite a big, heavy thing on my shoulders. And to give you an idea of how heavy it was for me, so I am homosexual. And I'm not sure if I never understood that a person is meant to come out, or if it just never was such a big issue to me. But the thing that really, 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 really kept me awake at night, and the thing that really, chewed away at my nerves, was the psychic thing. If people find out that I'm psychic, that I'm practicing, psychic things, that I'm a tarot reader, I used to be like this closet tarot reader. But then, I had a lot of the troubles that people have when they have mental problems. Now, I've also always been a bit of a loner. I've always been sort of like, on my own role, finding it difficult to sort of like relate to people a lot of times. I remember, I mean, I'm 40 now, and I'm only really feeling that now I'm getting into a space of my life where I really connect with people. Whereas when I was younger, it always felt to me like I was that oddball out, that I didn't quite fit, and it was very difficult for me to connect to people my age and to relate to the things that were important to them. Um, but I do also remember being born, and I remember coming into this light. I remember making the choice to come into this light, and I knew that this life would be very challenging. But long story short, with all the challenges that I've had in my life and in my childhood, as we all do, um, I can't remember exactly, but it must have been round about, I would say round about the end of 2014, maybe the middle, the more halfish, middle-ish part of 2014, I think. Um, I was I was full-blown suicidal. Now I've always been suicidal. It wasn't like it was a new thing. I was just always afraid of like, what if I kill myself or try to kill myself and I fail? What a fool I would be then, and then I need other people. And I think that is just how the consciousness of life actually kept me here. There's a little bit of sanity that still prevailed. Um, but then I remember I just got to a point, and I'm quite convinced it's 2014. Um, but I got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be alive anymore. I was convinced that I was this problem, not just for myself, but for everybody else. And I was doing the world this favor by, by committing suicide. And I also want to let you know that if you are dealing with someone that is suicidal, or maybe somebody has passed from suicide, and you may feel like, I should have paid closer attention. I should have picked up on the signs. How did I not know? I want to let you know that, first of all, when you become suicidal, there's a chemical difference shift that takes place in your brain. And um, when people really, really want to go, they will do whatever they need to do to keep you from being suspicious. I was very mindful. It was so exhausting because even if I was staying like way over there and I know that nobody could see me, just in case somebody was somehow looking at me through binoculars from wherever, I would still make sure that I studied things like body language and, how to like pull your face and whatever, and when you speak, so that everybody could know for a fact, if they saw me, I didn't know that they saw me, they would know for a fact that I am happy, okay? Because I didn't want to be stopped. Um, Long story short, things didn't go the way that I planned, and then I was like, oh well, you know what? It's one extra day, and I went to go see my house doctor, my family doctor, and he referred me to a psychiatrist. And I remember I was only in his office for like 12 and a half minutes, and then he listened to all my stuff, and how I can get erratic sometimes and overwhelmed sometimes, and for days I can't sleep, and then for days I'm totally drained and exhausted, and I've had this migraine all of my life. I never understood why people complain about a headache, because I've had a headache all my life. I was like, what's the deal? Um, just being so exhausted, finding it so difficult to relate to people, to cope, to just do simple everyday tasks, like the most simplest things. I would go to bed at night, I would pray so much. I would be like, please God, I'm not even sure if I believe in you, but even if I do, or if you are there, can you please just let me die in my sleep? And if I wake up in the morning, I would be so disappointed and so sad and so heartbroken that I woke up another fucking day and I have to do it again. It was very, very tough. And a lot of times, you have to endure well, you don't have to, but you endure certain things. You hear people say things, oh, he's in a mood again. There he goes again, being crazy again. Oh, you know how that one is. And sometimes I think what some people don't get, it's just impossible for you to be sociable, to be connected to other people, to have people around. It's very hard. I used to get a lot of sort of like stimulus, sort of like overwhelm, like overstimulation of the senses. So the wonderful great thing with the medication was that I could sleep. I could never sleep. For all of my life, I've always had a problem with insomnia, which means I was always tired, and which always made me edgy, which is why I wanted to always keep to myself. And I was very self-sabotaging, relationships, friendships, jobs, places of accommodation, anything to me that would resemble security, stability, just general kindness or civility. I would like completely run away from that. And that is a lot of times what mental illness does. It's difficult for you to cope with the world. Things that are normal to other people are hard for you. All right. So I'm not on medication anymore. I haven't been on medication for a couple of years, because the medication made me feel very dwanky. Everything was just fine. Everything was just okay. Everything was just Hakuna Matata. Namaste, love and light. Everything is cool. And I lost my apartment. I was in a romantic connection with this person who didn't even make a secret of taking me for a fool. I got into all of this debt. I just hit a full-blown depression. And everything was just fine. And then I cold turkeyed myself off the medication, which I definitely don't recommend to anyone at all. Because then I hit a complete, like a mental sort of shutdown. And I remember I was living in Cape Town in this beautiful apartment at the time, and it was like at the top of this road, this long street in Cape Town called Long Street, very appropriately. There's got all sorts of like pubs and backpackers and shops, and it's very, very interesting. It's a very carnival-y sort of space. All these beautiful restaurants and coffee shops and bars and whatever with like tables outside, and everything is very mosaic and very arty and very vibrant part of Cape Town. And so my apartment was right on the top, and if I was in my lounge, there was this big sort of view glass window door sort of thing. And so if I was on the couch, I just needed to lift my head a little bit and I could see down this road. And I remember I hardly ate. I remember I would only leave my apartment to go and there was this beautiful store around the corner that was selling sort of bin-in sort of bottles of wine. So whatever the winemakers were packaging, it was last but left. They'll sell them at very good rates now. Excellent quality wine at good rates. And since I'm a Merlot lover, I was like, well, let's just Merlot it up. And also I really, really, really got onto marijuana at the time. So I would wake up any time of night or day, and it could be any day of the week, any time around the clock, and I'll just wake up, look at the world a bit, feel bad for myself, feel the emotions coming in. I would have already rolled a joint and just have a bottle or two of wine, and that was it. Until one day, one of my friends came and hammered on my door, and I was like, that's about it. Ran me a whole bathtub of water. He's a small guy, so he couldn't carry me to the bathroom, so he dragged me to the bathroom. But thank God for people like that. And, he said to me, this is it. But I definitely don't recommend that you just even wean yourself off medication. I definitely recommend getting professional help, professional support. But then so what I do these days, I manage my hormones, because mental illness is typically an imbalance of the hormones, same as diabetes, and or any one of those things that are imbalances of the hormones. So I practice mindfulness. I consciously practice mindfulness. And also for me, this is where one of my big personal rules come in quite a lot, that I will say yes to anything as long as I don't say no to myself. I prioritize my mental stability. I prioritize my emotional stability, the emotional harmony, mental harmony. So even if that means that I have to say no to something and to someone that might be very upset with me, I will say no to it. It's like, for example, a couple of months ago, myself and my siblings were getting together, and I haven't seen, some of my siblings in quite a while. But, I just realized that mentally this was too big of a strain to me, and I had to say no. And so it's about maintaining your mental capacity. I also, about 3 months ago, life was very crazy for me, so I just have to see what the date is today. So today is, what is the date today? Today is May the 23rd, and it's a Tuesday, 14:27 GMT plus 2 time in South Africa. Okay. Um, I'm actually early for a meeting because UK time, so instead of, anyways, long story short, daytime saving, and I kind of got it a little bit whacked up, so I thought I'd make this video. But about 3 months ago, I really felt myself slipping back down into that state of lethargy, not caring, just not having the will to do anything, no drive, no passion, letting days just float by me. I got very heavily back into weed smoking, um, and everything was just blasé. And I realized that I can't go back in there. And initially, I was looking at CBD tablets, which I think is really, really great. But I wanted something that wasn't associated with marijuana. And that got me onto microdosing magic mushrooms. Best, best, best decision that I ever made. Like, best ever. I did a lot of research about it beforehand. Um, and I've got a very good friend of mine who is a shaman, practicing shamanism, and he does everything from scratch. So he's not like a buyer and a reseller. He does everything from scratch, and I really felt myself coming back again. It's really amazing for maintaining mental health and depression and anxiety and all of those sort of things. I don't care what anybody says. My well-being is most important to me first and foremost. And that's something that really, really works for me, microdosing magic mushrooms. Um, yeah, but, if you are going through challenges at the moment with mental health, with confidence, with belief, with anxiety, with all of those type of things, if you have been trying the traditional approach, like the traditional therapy approach for a long period of time and that is not working, I would, from personal experience, encourage you to be open to broadening the circle for you. I have recently had clients that came to me, and I mean, some of them have been saying, I've been seeing a therapist for 8 years, I've been seeing one for 5 years, I've been seeing one for 2 years, I've been seeing one for 10 years. This one person told me that, that they have been seeing a therapist every single week without exception. And we've got a lot of power cuts in South Africa at the moment. So whether the power was on or off, whether it was in person or online, um, be it during the pandemic and the lockdown and everything, for 8 years, every single week, religiously, this person saw their therapist. And so this person was sort of like saying, well, I took your tarot course. It really made sense to me. There's a link for my courses or in the description if you're interested. Um, and I really wanted to meet you in person. And I was saying to this person, you know what, now I'm not discarding anything. I'm not discarding any sort of medical practice, all of those type of things. But this is something that I want you to think about it as well. If you have been seeing a therapist for an extended period of time, and you are not still where you need to be, you're not making any sort of progress, maybe you need to start seeing someone else. All right. That is why I personally am very proud to be a regression hypnosis practitioner. I call it quantum life activation because it's quite a lot of all the different things that I do, crystal healing and Reiki and all of those things brought together in the same umbrella, NLP, the whole works. Um, and I'm excited because I'm also studying quite a bit of theta healing at the moment, which is amazing. It's like a more structured form of regression hypnosis. It's amazing. Um, and so I just want to say to you, like, if it's not working, be open to something different, because regression hypnosis, for example, comes from a point of, so this is what you have. Why do you have it? What is the core initiator for you having what you are having? And that is how I approach everything, or in anyone that come and see me, and even my own life. Why am I having this? Because the situation that you have, the circumstances, the problem, whatever it may be, it's a manifestation of some sort of core initiator. So you want to know what that initiator is. Because the medical field, more often than not, they want to know what's wrong with you and how do we fix that. But who's to say that anything is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Who's to say that anything is wrong with you? And there is a thing with mental health. We live in a world where it's so easy to sort of just, push the crazies aside and the ugly ones aside and the whatever, anything that is not fitting this perfect mold of perfectionism of life or whatever. But nothing is perfect because we are all a work in progress. And I want to say to you, as a person who has been hiding away for years, as a person who has been embarrassed, ashamed, feeling less than, because I've got this beautiful psychic gift that I'm able to help so many people with, but I was always hiding and I never wanted to be seen and I was so nervous. What if anybody finds out? I want to let you know that mental illness, hellness really, but mental illness, and just going through a dip in life in general doesn't have to determine your capability or your worth or your value. All right? And anybody who says that, just because you've got, we're speaking about mental health specifically, so I'm just going to stay within that framework. But anybody who says to you that you can't do something because you've got mental challenges, I would say send that person love and light, but also maybe keep a bit of a distance from that person. Or understand why it is that they say that, because sometimes people are actually genuinely afraid for us, Don't make assumptions. Get the help and the support that you need, all right? There's many things that you can do in conjunction with medication. Sound healing is amazing because as a human body, we are basically 70% water, and sound vibration has a very direct impact on water, which is why I'm so passionate about that, about sound. Crystal healing, Reiki. You may think that all of these things are crazy, wackadoodle things, your affirmations, vision boards, but I know that these things work because they work for me and they work for many other people that I work with. And, I just want to say to you that if maybe one of the biggest things that you want to work on, and there's a book that can help you with that called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, the founder of Hay House. You can heal your life. If you are having those challenges, then get help, get support, get people that don't want to sort of stomp down what you feel and all those sort of things. And have respect for what you feel and what you need, and that can support you. And that sometimes means that we have to, maybe frequent family and close loved ones and relations a little less, but go where you support it. Don't let your life be determined, and your life choices and your life quality and your life experience. Don't let it be determined by the fact that you've got mental challenge, because I personally think everybody's a little wackadoodle in any case. All right? Make peace with it. That's a good thing to start with. Make peace with it, because once you have made peace with who you are, with your hurt, your pain, your fear, your traumas. And the amazing thing about that is that up to 99.9% of the fears and the beliefs that are limiting us in life, that we are having, even mental illness, it is inherited. It's not even your fault. All right? So there's nothing to be ashamed about. Absolutely nothing to be ashamed about. And it took me a very long time. I haven't scripted anything. It took me a very long time to be able to really just come out in public and say, I'm Adrian Nelson, I'm a born psychic, I am an incredibly excellent intuitive, I'm a great life coach, and I also have personal mental health challenges. It took me a very, very, very long time, and it was a very difficult journey for me to be able to get to this point. But now that I am here, I cannot be more free. I cannot be more excited. And I cannot be more excited to help other people reach that same step in life, whatever it is that you are holding back. Because when we own our pain and we own our fear and we own our trauma, then it can no longer run the show. And it's the most beautiful sort of freedom. From my heart, namaste, love and light.